Good morning, everyone. Welcome, welcome, one and all, in here, out there, to the Cannabis Regulatory Commission's meeting. I'm your host, Chairwoman Diana Waynu. The time is 11:30 a.m. and I'm called this meeting to order. Mr. Saeed, can you please read the notice of the public meeting?
Chairwoman, this is a regularly scheduled meeting of the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission's 2025 annual meeting schedule. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the Senator Byron M. Baer Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of the meeting was provided to the Asbury Park Press, Bergen Record, Courier Post, Star Ledger, and the Trenton Times on December 12, 2024. The agenda and information regarding the in-person meeting and the ability to live stream was also posted on the CRC website. The meeting time and location has also been posted on the website of the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission and with the Office of the Secretary of the State.
Mr. Saeed, can you please take roll call?
Commissioner Mapp,
Here.
Vice Chair Nash,
Here.
Chairwoman Waynu.
Present.
We now have a quorum. The first order of business is for the Commission to go into executive session to discuss legal matters and litigation and investigation updates. These are discussions that are not shared with the public. We believe the executive session should take about 90 minutes.
Thank you. Is there a motion for us to go into executive session? Commissioner Mapp moves to go into executive session, seconded by Vice Chair Nash. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes. So as Mr. Saeed mentioned, we anticipate the executive session to last approximately 90 minutes. We will leave the live stream running during that time. And so we can expect to resume the public portion of this meeting at 12:45. Thank you for your patience, everyone. All right, welcome back, everyone. Time is 1:38, and we will resume the public portion of this meeting. Apologies for the extended executive session. We do our best to anticipate how much time we'll need. Sometimes we underestimate ourselves there. Before we get started, I want to note for everyone a few changes to the agenda. Today, we will not be approving prior meeting minutes today. Also, there are 2 ownership changes that are being removed from consideration today and will be considered at a future board meeting. Application number 12533 is also being removed from consideration today. That will be decided at a future board meeting. And we are adding 1 item to the agenda, a delegation of authority that we will that will describe in further detail right before we go to public comment. So a few updates to the agenda, but hopefully it will actually smoothen things out as we move forward. So with that, Mr. Saeed, can you please announce the next item?
The next item on the agenda is the chair's report.
All right. So as we, before I dive into the chair's report for this month, I want to note that, it's not lost on me that there are applicants waiting eagerly to get approval of their application so that they can move forward in starting and launching their businesses. there continue to be misunderstandings, I'm going to call them, misunderstandings of the agency's process for reviewing applications. Specifically, there have been, questions of whether the board is holding up applications and holding on to applications for years at a time. So I want to take a moment to remind everyone of the process that the agency uses to review and act on license applications. Once an application is submitted to the commission using the online portal, our staff go through a multi-step process for ensuring that an application is complete, that it is addresses fully each question that is required. All documents are included, and that the investigation of any individuals that have to go through a background check is completed. And so it's not until all of that is done that the board then gets an application and begins to review them. So the board doesn't even get most of the applications until right before a board meeting. At that point, it's gone through several hands of our esteemed staff to make sure that applications meet the requirements of our regulations and the law. As we all know, there are sometimes deficiencies that need to be corrected in an application, and they'll go through that cure process where applicant is given a letter describing what the deficiencies are and has an opportunity to respond. And sometimes we have had applications that go through an extensive cure phase where there's a lot of back and forth to make sure that the applicant knows exactly what's expected of them and has an opportunity to make their own decision on what to provide or what adjustments to make in their application. And then the board has usually about 3 to 4 weeks with an application. The board sees these applications just a few weeks before the board meeting, but we do our best to get through them quickly so that if there are any last minute hiccups that are identified, we can get those rectified quickly for our applicants to be able to move forward. So I wanted to make that clear. In other news, we have a new online waiver form. So the commission regularly receives requests to waive a regulatory rule. And so we now have a new online form that businesses can use to submit their regulatory waiver request. We created the form to standardize the rule waiver request process and ensure that requesters are thinking through the necessary components for their request. This form can be found on the Commission's website. You click on the Resources tab and scroll down to the Adult Use Recreational Cannabis section, and it's that first link there. Next slide, please. So as you complete the form, remember that the request must meet 3 criteria. It must be consistent with the medicinal or recreational cannabis laws. It must be necessary in order to provide access to cannabis, and it must not jeopardize anyone's health, safety, or welfare. One final note on waiver requests is that we at the Commission have seen several requests asking for waivers because it would make their business more efficient. And while we understand the desire to run an efficient enterprise, a regulatory waiver is not to be used for convenience or to simply make things easier, faster, or more attractive. It is a mechanism for the Commission to deviate from its duly established regulations. And as such, the waiver power is to be used sparingly, only when it is actually necessary. So we do hope that the new online form will prove useful for businesses that find themselves in those rare cases of true necessity. Now I want to move on to a few cautions for applicants and business owners. First, we are aware of several business owners that have been posting online offering their license for sale. We've even seen conditional licenses being posted and offered for sale for $280,000, $100,000, and things like that. Anyone who offers a conditional license for sale is not giving you any real authority to be a cannabis business. So please be wary of that. Conditional licenses don't allow you to start growing, processing, or selling cannabis, nor are conditional licenses necessary for a prospective investor or business owner to have. So if you come across these listings, don't be fooled by them. Don't buy them. Don't let fraudsters dupe you into buying something that isn't even a real cannabis business yet. Next, there have been reports of business owners spending large sums of money in preparation of opening a cannabis business. And we understand, as I noted earlier, that business owners want to get up and running as soon as possible. But for entrepreneurs, know that getting ahead of yourself can run the risk of quickly turning into getting in your own way. Nowhere is this more prevalent than in businesses' efforts to get financing and when businesses are doing construction. We frequently see businesses accepting and spending investors' money before getting approvals for their financial source agreement or their investor agreements. We also frequently see businesses building out their facilities before getting approved for a license. Sometimes we have businesses that are trying to finish up construction even before submitting an application for a license. We also saw quite a few retailers building out their consumption areas before submitting an application for a consumption area endorsement. So for our applicants, our business owners, and our investors, I want you to know that you are not required to finish your construction or renovation before submitting an application. And you certainly are not required to spend millions of dollars of investors' money before your license application is approved. We at the Cannabis Regulatory Commission, we want to see our businesses succeed. And while we can't give anyone business, legal, or financial advice, we can tell you that if you do choose to move forward ahead of getting the necessary approvals, you can find yourself running the risk of your application not being approved if there are problematic or prohibited provisions in your agreements. So it doesn't matter how much money you've already spent or whether investors are on the verge of pulling their investments. We want you to know that if your investor agreements or your financial source agreements do not comply with our regulations and the applicable statute, it cannot move forward and won't be approved. Which brings me to my final point. Businesses can set themselves up for success by first being honest and realistic about their capacity and their projections. We want you to be honest with yourself and set up realistic and achievable goals for yourself. Biting off much more than what you can chew can leave you in debt with few options to cover your expenses. So think about what you can accomplish with the time, resources, and people that you have. Think about how to set up your expenses and revenue projections to allow for cushion and any unexpected hiccups. And remember that our rules are built to allow you to start small and go slow and grow from there. We want to see our businesses succeed, but you have to be the one to drive your business to that goal. We're here to help, but only you can actually be the true business person that makes your business a success. So that is it for my chair's report today. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the executive director's report.
Director Riggs, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, as always, we'll give an update on dispensary openings. These are new recreational only dispensaries opening up. We have them opening up everywhere. There's the list of dispensaries that have opened all over the state, and they continue to be opened up on a weekly basis. The licensing update, we have total licenses approved as of July 30th, 2025. Over 3,000 applications have been submitted through the portal. So we finally hit that 3,000 mark. A lot of applications coming in. 2,300 of them have been approved. 232 of these applications are under review in the Office of Licensing. 276 of these applications are pending resubmission following that cure process that you outlined, where it can be intense and there can be multiple cures, but they sit out there. And then 165 applications are under review in the Office of Compliance and Investigations. Total recreational licenses approved as of July 30th by the board, 1,629 conditionals, 451 conditional and annual conversions, 279 annuals, 84 expanded alternative treatment centers. And right now we have a grand total of 357 total operating licenses and permits in AU and medical. Today, we have applications up for consideration. There are 3 conditional conversion applications that we will be considering and recommending. There are 7 annual licenses and 29 annual renewals. As always, we'll give an update on our patient numbers as of July 15th, 2025. Total patients are a little over 58,000. Our caregivers are a little under 4,000, and our doctors are right around 1,500. And this is our quarterly reporting month here. So we will give a sales and pricing update, and then I will kick it over to the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, Wesley McWhite, to go through some of the demographic data. Right here, this slide shows the last 4 quarters of medicinal and recreational sales. Q2 is about 14%, trending in 14% more than it was last year. That's significant, and we'll talk about it more. It doesn't necessarily show that the market is growing just based on sales, because the price of cannabis is actually going down. You'll see that soon. Total sales by month, year over year, June of 2024 to June of 2025, you saw a 17.3% increase over those 2 months in the year for sales, total sales. This is adult use bud and flower pricing per gram. This is another metric that we like to look at. As you'll see, adult use bud and flower is at $8.58 per gram. It's a minus 2.9% change. The year over year change from June of 2024 to June of 2025 is minus 28%. So the price continues to go down. Same thing here with medicinal bud and flower pricing per gram. Medicinal cannabis is a little bit cheaper per gram at $8.22. The year over year change there was minus 22%. Here's our product mix category slide that we go through. You'll see that bud and flower still pretty much dominate the market at about 40% of the 40% of sales. The interesting thing here is that edibles are starting to catch up to the pre-rolls. They're starting to catch up. I think that is probably because we expanded the availability of the forms that we allow for edibles. So that's starting to creep up. I think that'll continue to creep up and probably surpass the pre-rolls sometime here in the near future. Pounds harvested by month. Now this is one that you look at and you see it shows that the market's still growing. It grew from June of 2024 to June of 2025. We had almost a 40% increase in the number of pounds harvested. So almost 40% more pounds were harvested in over a year. So the market continues to be healthy and grow. Now these are interesting slides that I wanted to bring to the attention of everybody. This is THCA testing value averages from 2023 to 2025. And in 2023, you see that the average was 24.21%. Now in 2025, it's 27.21%. That change represents a 12.4% increase. We are looking into that. There's an ongoing investigation to determine whether these levels are being inflated. because of that increase. Cannabis hasn't changed much from 2023 to 2025 as far as bud and flower go, but the percentage of THC seems to go up. So we want to make sure that we understand why. Same thing here with total yeast and mold testing rates, 2023 to 2025. You'll see in 2023, we had a fail rate of 3.7%, and in 2025, it's only 1%. And if you look to the right, you see a cliff at about 100,000 CFUs per gram. Mold doesn't really know what 100,000 CFUs, colony forming units, look like, and there's a cliff there. So we really need to look into that. The data shows that something's going on. There's a fall off. It should look the same on the right as it does on the left, and it doesn't. So we're continuing to investigate that, more to come, but I did want to share with the public some of these things that we're looking at and what the data is showing. And with that, I will kick it over to our esteemed Office of Diversity and Inclusion Director, Wesley McWhite, to go through some more data. Thank you.
Thank you. Follow that, huh? I thought it would be very important for us to provide a quick update on what's happening with the New Jersey Business Action Center's Cannabis Training Academy. They're doing great so far, and so this is their contact information if you haven't had the opportunity to check out the CTA. As you know, it is a 10-level go at your own course, go at your own pace, free here in the state of New Jersey, with over 60 courses and 28 instructors, all online at no cost. So from October 2024 to their soft launch in June of 2025, all levels have been configured. Over 60 courses, there's over 60 videos and PowerPoint presentations, more than 300 pages of downloadable course text scripts. They've just launched their cannabis badging training curriculum with 8 courses that meet regulatory requirements and 3 standalone courses focused on initial badging walkthrough. They've also successfully completed their Legacy to Legal Instructor Q&A and expert webinars. Those organized more than, organized more than 10 expert webinars, organized more than 15 plus instructors, Q&A, folks that have had legacy experience that have transitioned into the regulated space, organized 5 legacy to legal webinars, more than 12 hours of content in that space. As you can see, New Jersey CTA has already been recognized as a national program from some very esteemed names there. I'll let you read them, but we're really, really proud of the work that the CTA has done over there, from the executive director of the Business Action Center, Melanie, the Deputy Director, Penny, and Tahid Chappelle, the Executive Director of the CTA, and their entire program. And as you can see, more than 1,600 students have registered. At least 40% have started their journey through level 10. 19 self-identified cannabis license holders and 44 self-identified employees are already using the cannabis badge curriculum, and they are continuing to stay committed to Governor Murphy's commitment to diversity. So 48% of our self-identification of students are Black, 22% are white, and 19 are Latino, with women leading the charge, making up more than 51% of the student population, and Black women making up the most percentage of the student body. And there you can see a breakdown of counties represented in our CTA. So keep signing up for the CTA. To complete all of your courses, we do want to celebrate our graduates at some point. So on to the quarterly report. This represents Q2 2025. We're starting off always with our awardee application data. And please remember, as always, the full report is uploaded to the CRC website under resources under our reports page. But up until this point, we have awarded 714 annual licenses. 122 of those are social equity businesses, and 490 of those are diversely owned businesses. New Jersey CRC has increased the number of awarded micro businesses licenses by 17, with minor increases across the board for each license type. We continue to surpass that statutory benchmark. We don't talk about this one too much, which is a great sign that more small cannabis businesses are fueling this industry. Our diversely owned benchmark data, 23 additional minority-owned awarded licensees last quarter, an additional 22 women or disabled veteran-owned businesses were awarded. We continue and consistently surpass both statutory benchmarks by 48 and 44%. We continue to monitor our progress by keeping an eye on national trends. And according to the Minority Business Daily DEI report, only 19% of all licenses nationwide are minority owned, while 46% of New Jersey's CRC licensees are minority owned. Nationally, just 16% of all cannabis licenses were women owned. 40% of our licenses have been awarded to majority women owned businesses. So we continue to watch national trends. We try to watch other surveys that come out that update this information regularly, but we're going to continue to keep our eye on national trends, and we're really excited to see that we continue to stay above those. Benchmarks including expansion licenses. We can once you add in expanded ATCs, we still continue to surpass those benchmarks. Operational businesses licensed under the CREMA Act. So 24 so far are cultivators, 20 are manufacturers, 1 wholesaler, 132 retailers, and 5 testing laboratories. And off to your right in the key categories, you see a breakdown of those operational businesses. Operational businesses licensed under the CREAM Act according to their DORA certification. So a majority of those have no certification, but 51 out of the rest, a majority owned are women owned, 38 are minority owned, 32 have both minority and women owned DORS Treasury certifications, 5 just disabled veteran owned, and then 5 disabled veteran and minority owned. So we're really we'll continue to encourage people to keep up with their certifications, to submit their certifications, any and all certifications that they apply for as a part of their application process, or submitting them with their license as well during renewal time. Operational businesses licensed under the CREMA Act broken down by race and ethnicity: 24 are Asian, 25 are Black or African American, 82 are white, and 23 are Hispanic or Latino majority. And we've seen increases across across all minority groups as far as operational business licenses. And so we continue to ask the public to let us know what sort of metrics that they're looking for, to that they want to know to see how the industry is going. And so, as the acting executive director, Chris Riggs, said earlier, there's been a 17% increase of adult sales year over year from June 2024 to June 2025. But although there was a 17% increase for the entire industry, starting with key populations like social equity businesses sales have increased by 56% year over year, indicating substantial growth progress in target communities and their representation in the market. So last June 2024, social equity businesses saw about 6.2 million in sales. June 2025 of this year, they've seen 9.8 million worth of sales just within the month of June. Same for economically disadvantaged areas. They've seen 1.8 million in sales June 2024. This year, they've seen 4.3 million in sales for economically disadvantaged areas. For micro businesses, they've seen an 87, almost 88% increase in sales by month from June 2024 to June 2025. Diversely owned businesses have gone from seeing 27 million in sales June 2024 to 44 million in June 2025. So these are just indications for us that key populations are making their mark in the industry. Although we do share positive news like this, we continue to try to work with the community, understanding that just progress. We still have much more work to do. We haven't solved and fixed all the problems. We have not turned back or rectified all the wrongs by cannabis prohibition, but we are off to an amazing start here in New Jersey. It's something we can be proud of now, and it should motivate us to continue to keep working hard for it in the future. And so with that, I'll turn it back over to the chair.
Thank you, Director McWhite and Director Riggs, for a detailed and informative and enlightening executive director's report. Again, I'm really happy to see the breakdown of the the data on the total sales by some of these key demographics. I agree with you, Director McWhite, that it's promising, and it's showing that our target audiences that the commission has worked really hard over the last 4 years to inform and bring into the regulated space, that they're starting to and continue to make their mark in the industry. With Are there any questions from the board for Director Riggs or McWhite? All right. Nope. Hearing none. Mr. Said, can you please announce the next agenda item?
The next item up for consideration is decision of waiver NJ-AC 17:30-11.5C and 11.6B under Resolution 2023-144.
Thank you. So this is a rescission of the waiver regarding expansion of edible products. So Director Riggs, I'll turn the floor over to you.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. At the time, the board and staff, we wanted to expand the ability to offer different types of edibles and edible products. Those waivers have now become stale because we adopted rules that captured everything that was in the waivers. So we expanded to allow ingestible products. We clarified our ingredient standards. Since this was a temporary waiver and we now have rules in place and rules to follow, this waiver is no longer needed. So we are recommending that the waiver be rescinded at this time.
Thank you. And just to underscore, this would be a rescission of the waiver only on the adult use side, because we do still need the waiver to be in effect on the medicinal cannabis side, because we have not updated. Well, we have started, but we have not finished updating those regulations. So this is just on the adult use side, but again, we anticipate no change as a result of this action because the regulations are already in place.
That's 100% accurate, Madam Chair.
Perfect. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chair, I move to approve rescinding waiver of NJ-CRC 11.5C2 and 11.6B under Resolution 2023-144.
Moved by Vice Chair Nash. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Mapp. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Vice Chair Nash,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item up for consideration is the rescission of delegated authority to issue provisional badges under Resolution 2024-199.
All right. And so this is a recommendation from the Permitting and Licensing Committee. So I will turn the floor over to Vice Chair Nash.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In February of 2024, the Commission determined that the cannabis industry was experiencing a significant labor shortage, due in part to longer than expected criminal background checks. And it was in the best interest of approved cannabis businesses and prospective employees to issue temporary provisional approval for certain individuals to work in an ATC or an adult use cannabis business. In May 2024, the Permitting and Licensing Committee held statewide public hearings to obtain feedback on the Commission's licensing and permitting process. The hearing provided the Commission with a broader perspective on the challenges faced by various groups. Some of the issues raised require adjustments to our regulations and/or policies, and one of those was provisional badging. Specifically, persons with disqualifying convictions are not discouraged from participating in New Jersey's cannabis industry, but instead given an opportunity to demonstrate that they have moved on from their past criminogenic behaviors. As a result of provisional badging, individuals with disqualifying convictions were issued provisional badges and then were terminated by their employers due to failure to meet the background checks. This resulted in major disruptions, not only to their lives for the terminated employees, but it also forced employers to scramble to rearrange schedules or hire additional personnel. In 2025, the board considered only 6 applications of those with disqualifying convictions. Therefore, the concerns about disruptions or terminations in this regard are rather insignificant. Currently, individuals that do not have any criminal history attached to their profile are being cleared in about 5 days. Those individuals with criminal histories that are not deemed disqualifying convictions are being cleared in under 12 days on average. There are certain exceptions, such as if certain documentation is not received, results could take longer. The Permitting and Licensing Committee's recommendation is that the commission remove provisional badging and rescind Resolution 2024-199 as provisional badging is no longer necessary. Madam Chair?
Thank you, Vice Chair Nash. Are there any questions from the board for Vice Chair Nash? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chair, I move to rescind authority to issue provisional badges under Resolution 2024-199.
I second.
Moved by Vice Chair Nash, seconded by Commissioner Mapp. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Vice Chair Nash,
Yes.
Chairwoman Waynu.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item up for consideration is the contract award for a safe use public information campaign.
And this agenda item is being presented by our Public Engagement and Education Committee, so I will turn the floor over to Commissioner Mapp.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before I begin, I would like to thank the staff of the CRC for the support I continue to receive, whether or not it is asked for. The Public Engagement and Education Committee is tasked with educating the public on the legal, safe, and responsible use of cannabis. Some of our goals are to continue to provide you with factual, impartial, science-based information with a focus on reducing accidental overconsumption, promoting awareness and product safety, and safe storage, dosage guidance, labeling, and purchasing from a licensed dispensary, and engaging the community through localized and culturally competent outreach. Slide 1, please. Our target audience will include the general public with a focus on youth under the age of 18 and young adults between the ages of 18 and 20. Parents and guardians of small children, those who are pregnant and those who are nursing, health impacted individuals, and inexperienced users. Slide 2, please. To accomplish this objective, the CRC has looked to award a mini-bid contract to a vendor who would be able to provide the following: a multi-language safe use campaign, which would reflect the state's predominant languages and the ability to accommodate additional languages. The campaign is designed to evolve based on advertising through diverse media such as outdoor signage, digital ads, streaming, websites, and social media, etc., with key messages being amplified across the state regarding driving under the influence of cannabis, and also taking into consideration that there is also home delivery, which helps in this prevention. The importance of understanding cannabis products, the ingredients, the labels, the types, the effects, potency, and safe storage, while continuing to provide education on the importance of purchasing from regulated markets rather than the legacy market. Slide 3, please. On Monday, March 17th, 2025, a mini bid engagement was presented to 18 vendors under T3067, a statewide advertising and public relations contract. Bidders were able to submit questions and receive answers via email during the question and answer period, which ended on March 28th, 2025. After all amendments were made, the final bid was issued on 4/24/2025. The commission's staff received 9 proposals by the May 5th deadline, and after Carefully reviewing the proposals received for compliance with requirements and engagement, the committee found that even though all bidders offered great service, there was one company who rose above. Slide 4, please. And that company is the Cetra Group Incorporated, which is a Hispanic veteran-owned media strategy firm. We would like to thank all those who were part of this process, and we look forward to working with you sometime in the near future. Thank you. I return to the chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Mapp, and all the members on the Public Engagement and Education Committee for their work here. I know the communications team in particular did a lot of work there and will be doing a lot of work on this campaign as well. Yes, go ahead,
I forgot one
Commissioner
thing.
Mapp.
I had a note, but I forgot. Thank you to Dara and Tony Ann for all your help in getting this done.
Well noted and well deserved. So thank you to the communications team for your assistance in the mini bid, and thank you in advance for all of the work that you're going to do to execute this safe use campaign. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter?
So I make the motion that we move ahead. I don't know the exact terminology, but we move ahead with offering the contract to Cetra Group.
Commissioner Mapp
Second.
moves to offer the contract to Cetra Group, and it was seconded by Vice Chair Nash. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Vice Chair Nash,
Yes.
Chairwoman Waynu.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item up for consideration are applications for permit or license changes.
So we'll take these in two buckets. And Director Riggs, I will turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first bucket that we'll take up is the canopy increase. Canopy physical plant or premises changes require board approval. Illicit Gardens, New Jersey is requesting to modify their cultivation canopy tier to allow them to go from tier 1 to tier 2, which includes the construction of a 24,000 square foot facility and 7 additional flower rooms. Their site plans and standard operating procedures have been reviewed, and compliance will remain in contact with them and ensure that a site inspection is conducted when the build out is complete. We are recommending that this change in capacity to their canopy be approved so that they can operate in the tier 2 space. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Riggs. Are there any questions from the board for Director Riggs? Hearing none, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the application to modify capacity, physical plant, premises, or administrative office for Illicit Gardens.
Second.
Moved by Vice Chair Nash, seconded by Commissioner Mapp. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Vice Chair Nash,
Yes.
Chairwoman Waynu.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next bucket is ownership changes.
That's the next
Director
bucket.
Riggs, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And yes, that is the next bucket. We have some ownership transfer applications. We have 7 of them that are before the board today. Under the law and regulations, the sale or transfer of equity in any business requires board approval. This is to ensure that all regulatory requirements are met and that any new owners are vetted by OCI if needed. We have the 7 businesses. Wesley just went through them. Insa Coastline Dispensary LLC, Mountain View Pharmacy LLC, Vidu Brothers Cannabis, Higher Leaf LLC, Green Village Services LLC. Next slide, Cookies Harrison LLC, and Wheaties. They are all requesting a change in their ownership structure. Each of these entities has satisfied the regulatory requirements for an ownership change. All of these owners and individuals that were required to be vetted by OCI were done, and OCI has deemed that these individuals are qualified to enter into the adult use market. Therefore, we are recommending that these 7 ownership changes be approved.
Thank you, Director Riggs. Are there any questions from the board regarding these 7 ownership changes? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter?
I make the motion that we accept these changes as presented.
Moved by Commissioner Mapp to accept the changes as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Nash. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Saidi, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Vice Chair Nash,
Yes.
Chairwoman Waynu.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item up for consideration is the adult use cannabis business conversion license applications.
Director Riggs, I will turn the floor over to you to provide a summary of the applications received.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have 3 conditional to annual conversion licenses up for consideration today. 1 manufacturer, 1 retailer, and 1 cultivator. All of these entities have followed our licensing process where priority assignment was given, and we've confirmed that each applicant is assigned to their appropriate review priority. That priority is verified by our licensing team. A completeness review is then conducted by our licensing team to confirm that all the required documents were submitted, and to confirm that each document is filled out with the appropriate information as required by our regulations and the law. These applications are then scored where the documents are reviewed and scored. And then there's a qualification review by our Office of Compliance and Investigations where individual background checks are conducted, management services agreements or financial service agreements are reviewed, and then a quality control with our licensing Office of Compliance and Investigations and our legal team. And now we are at the step where we are recommending that these 3 applications be approved by the board. And therefore, I turn the floor back over to you.
Thank you, Director Riggs. Are there any questions from the board for Director Riggs? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the consideration of applications to convert from micro business to standard.
I second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Vice Chair Nash,
Yes.
Chairwoman Waynu.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item up for consideration are the adult use cannabis business annual license applications.
Director Riggs, turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have 7 annual licenses up for consideration today. 2 manufacturers, 2 retailers, and 3 cultivators. These applications went through the same process. They had a priority assignment. That priority was verified. We conduct a completeness review. The applications are then scored. There's a qualification review by our Office of Compliance and Investigation. We do quality control and then a recommendation to the board. All these applications have been reviewed, scored, and we are now recommending that they be approved by the board.
Thank you, Director Riggs. Are there any questions from the board regarding these 7 annual license applications? Hearing none, is there a motion on this matter? Is there a motion on this matter regarding the 7 annual license applications?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the applications to convert from conditional to annual.
No, these are not the
Oh.
conversion. Sorry, this is direct to annual.
Oh. I move to approve the direct to annual applications.
I second.
Moved by Vice Chair Nash, seconded by Commissioner Mapp. Is there any discussion on this matter? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Vice Chair Nash,
Yes.
Chairwoman Waynu.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item up for consideration is the adult use cannabis business annual license renewal applications.
Director Riggs, floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There are 29 applications that are up for renewal. As a reminder, all of our licenses are effective for 1 year from the date of issuance, and we are required to review and reviewed annually. These applications were reviewed. The entities have provided the required documentation. for renewal. The documentation was reviewed by and approved by Office of Compliance and Investigations. It was looked at by our legal team. And anybody that was an expanded ATC has provided additional municipal support as required. Therefore, we are recommending that all 29 of these applications be renewed today.
Thank you, Director Riggs. Are there any questions from the board for Director Riggs? Hearing none, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the applications as submitted.
Moved by Commissioner Mapp. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Nash. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Vice Chair Nash,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item up for consideration are cases, claims, and petitions.
So here we have several regulatory waiver requests. Say that 5 times fast. So Chief Counsel Toizon, I'll turn the floor over to you to describe the waiver requests received.
So as the chair described earlier in the meeting, entities have the ability to submit a request to waive some of the commission's regulations. For the board to determine whether a waiver would be appropriate, the entity has to demonstrate that they meet the 3 factors under 17:30-3.7A, which states that the commission may waive a regulatory requirement if such a waiver is necessary to achieve the purposes of the act, necessary to provide access to cannabis items to consumers, and 3, does not create a danger to the public health, safety, or welfare. So the first waiver request that the board will be considering today is waiver number WR021 by Curaleaf, and it is a waiver of the requirement under 19.5B to conduct stability testing on a per batch or per lot basis, and requesting instead to conduct the stability testing on a product family-based stability testing. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chief Counsel. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter as it relates to the waiver request WR021 from Curaleaf?
Madam Chair, I move to deny the waiver request at this time.
Vice Chair Nash moves to deny the waiver request. Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Commissioner Mapp. Is there any discussion on this motion? I will note that though that I agree with our staff's determination that there is no evidence presented in this waiver request demonstrating the necessity to that it is necessary to achieve the purposes of the CREAM Act or the Honig Act. It possibly could provide access to cannabis, but it is not clear that it would. And I also agree with our staff that not having a defined standard for using product family-based testing could lead to inconsistent test results and miscontamination in products, and thus posing a risk of harm to health and safety. And so for those reasons, I support a denial of the waiver request. Is there any other discussion on this motion? Hearing none, Mr. Said, on the motion to deny the waiver request, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Vice Chair Nash,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes.
The second waiver request is WR027. It was submitted by the New Jersey Cannabis Trade Association. They request a waiver of 17:30-11.8C2 to extend the baseline expiration date of cannabis products from 6 months from the manufacturer or cultivation date to 12 months from the manufacturer or cultivation date. And turn it back over to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chief Counsel Tuazon. Any questions from the board for Chief Counsel? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter related to waiver request number 027 from the New Jersey Cannabis Trade Association? Is there a motion on this matter? I will move to deny the waiver request. Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Commissioner Mapp. Is there any discussion on this motion? I'll note that though I do agree with revisiting the expiration dates that are in our regulations, the Permitting and Licensing Committee, in fact, had a recommendation to the board to to have the Product Safety Packaging and Labeling Committee take a look at the expiration dates that are written in our regulations and provide any recommendations for changes to product expiration dates. And so I agree with the idea of revisiting our expiration dates for cannabis products, but the waiver process is not the proper vehicle to do that. And we cannot substitute a requirement for a new one through the waiver process. And thus, that is why I am a no on this particular waiver request. It is not necessary under the law, and it is not the proper vehicle for doing this kind of policy change. Any further discussion on this matter? With no further discussion, Mr. Saeed, on the motion to deny waiver request, WR027, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Vice Chair Nash,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wayno.
Yes.
The motion passes.
The next waiver request is WR029 by Nova Farms Woodbury. They request a waiver of the requirement under 17:30-16.5 A6I. And what's at issue is our regulations do provide examples of images or graphics that might be or that are prohibited and are considered attractive to children. And this waiver request in particular, our regulations do say candy, food products or cartoon characters would suggest a presence or would be images that would be attractive to children. And with that, I turn it over back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chief Counsel. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter as it relates to WR029?
Madam Chair, I move to deny the motion for requested waiver. There is a picture of a piece of melting chocolate on the label with in large letters chocolate on the label, and I think that could be very dangerous to children and confuse people as to what the actual package contains, and that's why I'm recommending no.
All right, Vice Chair Nash moves to deny the waiver request. Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Commissioner Mapp. Is there any additional discussion on this motion? Hearing no further discussion, Mr. Saeed, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Vice Chair Nash,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wayno.
Yes.
The motion passes.
The next waiver request is WR030 by Inclusion Gourmet. They request a waiver of their requirement under 17:30-11.5 E4 that ingestible products shall be a non-TCS, which is time control for safety food item. It's essentially another term that's in our Department of Health regulations for shelf-stable type of items. And with that, I turn it back over to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chief Counsel. Any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter as it relates to WR030?
Madam Chair, as much as I like ice cream, I'm going to move to deny this waiver. The recommendation by staff states that our policy behind the regulation requires the ingestible cannabis products to be non-TCS, food items which are concerned for public safety, products that require freezing may potentially open the door for microbial contamination in the event the cannabis retailer stores the product incorrectly. So I support that.
Vice Chair Nash moves to deny the waiver request. Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Commissioner Mapp. Is there any additional discussion on this motion? I agree with staff's determination that the policy motivation for behind this regulation. The waiver request certainly does not demonstrate a necessity that we need to allow ice cream products in order to fulfill the purposes of the Cream Act or Honig Act. It is not needed to provide access to cannabis items, and it is debatable whether or not it would actually pose a harm, given that I share Vice Chair Nash's indulgence of ice cream far more than the recommended serving size. But I would support a denial of this waiver request for those reasons. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Hearing none. Mr. Said, on the motion to deny WR 030, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Vice Chair Nash,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes.
The final waiver request the board will be considering today is WR 031. That was again submitted by Nova Farms Woodbury, and they request a waiver of the requirement under 17:30-16.2F and 16.5A6 that all packaging for cannabis shall be of a single color and not attractive to children. What's at issue here is there's an external box and an internal tin. Whether both external and internal must be a single color, and we read the regulations to say all would encompass both internal and external. And with that, I turn it back over to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chief Counsel. Any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter as relates to WR 031? Is there a motion on this matter? I will move to deny the waiver request. Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Commissioner Mapp. Is there any discussion on this motion to deny the waiver request? I agree with staff's determination that the internal tin here, the multicolored nature of this tin does not conform with the regulations. Waiving the rule is not necessary to achieve the purposes of the Cream Act or the Honig Act. It is not necessary in order to provide access to the cannabis that is inside the tin. So for those reasons, I support denying the waiver request. Is there any further discussion on the motion to deny? Hearing no further discussion, Mr. Said, on the motion to deny the waiver request, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Vice Chair Nash,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item up for consideration are notices of enforcement actions.
So here I will turn the floor over to Director Riggs to provide a summary of our first enforcement action.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There is no particular order to these enforcement actions. We'll just take them up one by one. We have 7 of them here today. The first one that is on the slide here is Love Grow Company LLC. This was a failure to utilize metric tags. Our regulations require when the plants reach a certain height, they must be tagged by metric plants. Our Office of Compliance and Investigations and the assigned field monitors routinely review surveillance footage to confirm that that is in fact happening. This was reported to us by an anonymous source. Our compliance team swiftly investigated it and confirmed that from December 18th of 24 through January 31st of 25, there were no metric tags on some of these plants. The corrective action plan submitted by the business confirms that they did not tag these plants and that they did set forth a procedure to ensure that they were appropriately tagging these plants when they reached a certain height, but they did essentially admit that there was a violation. So we are recommending that an enforcement action be taken.
Thank you, Director Riggs. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter as relates to INV 2925?
Madam Chair, I move to impose a sanction against Love Grow for $1,000 for untagged plants.
Moved by Vice Chair Nash. Is there a second?
Second, second.
Seconded by Commissioner Mapp. Is there any discussion on this motion? I'll note that a penalty of a $1,000 fine for failure to tag plants is consistent with the commission's prior practices, where we have imposed the same fine for the same violation against other companies. So I'm supportive of this motion. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Hearing no further discussion, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Vice Chair Nash,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Next slide, please. Oh, you got it. Thank you. The next enforcement or next notice of violation and investigation filed before the board for an enforcement action is INV 59-25 Dank Poet Dispensary. This stems from violations related to alcohol and cannabis consumption on the dispensary premises during a one-year anniversary event. There were a few videos and images obtained from social media by our compliance officer who followed up and confirmed that they were in fact consuming alcohol and cannabis during this event on the premises of the facility, while it was in the parking lot in a blown up igloo in the middle of the winter. So I'm sure that they could keep warm. That is still considered the cannabis business premises, and no consumption of cannabis should ever occur on the premises of a dispensary unless they have an endorsement for a consumption area. The business is also selling cannabis products in excess of the purchase limits, same event, and they failed to collect New Jersey tax on these purchased products. Therefore, we are recommending that an enforcement action be taken against the Dank Poet Dispensary.
Thank you, Director Riggs. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter on INV 5925?
Madam Chair, I move to impose a sanction against Dank Poet for a total of $7,500, $5,000 for consumption on the premises, $2,000 for selling in excess of the regulations, and $500 for the sales tax.
Moved by Vice Chair Nash. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Mapp. Is there any discussion on this motion? I will note that this penalty, and including the breakdown as provided by Vice Chair Nash, is consistent with the commission's prior practices. Excuse me, when presented with similar violations. I also will note here that according to the investigator, the business did, in fact, contact the CRC and asked about activities that could be conducted during the event. and they were told no. And yet here we are with on-site consumption happening anyways. So our businesses just heed the warnings of our compliance officers. So with that, I support the fine of $7,500. Is there any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Vice Chair Nash,
Yes.
Chairwoman Waynu.
Yes.
The motion passes.
The next notice of violation before the board is INV 74-2025, which is Green Medicine NJ-LLC. Failure to use approved areas for trimming, packaging, and storage of cannabis products. Unfortunately, this isn't the first time that Green Medicine had an offense related to the failure to use approved areas or were using unapproved areas. They were using a hallway that was unapproved on tables to trim and package cannabis products, and they were storing finished cannabis products in an unapproved area from March 24th through March 26th of 2025. Our compliance officer confirmed that through the surveillance camera system. So everything, they were not using areas that were approved, and therefore an enforcement action is recommended.
Thank you, Director Riggs. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter? INV 7/4/2025. Is there a motion on this matter? I will move to impose a fine of $20,000 against Green Medicine in this instance. This is not the first time that they have committed these violations. Again, they requested approval for using a particular space at their facility for storage. They were denied, and they proceeded to use that space anyway. So just a blatant disregard of the regulations and the directions from the regulating authority. So that warrants a increased fine for this business, which has been down this road before. Is there a second on this motion to impose a fine of $20,000?
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Nash. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Hearing no further discussion, Mr. Said, on the motion to impose a fine of $20,000, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Vice Chair Nash,
Yes.
Chairwoman Waynu.
Yes.
The motion passes.
The next notice of violation that we have before the board is Bruce Roots LLC, INV 75-2025. Failure to comply with transport regulations by using a marked vehicle for cannabis transportation. All of these violations are related to using a vehicle that clearly showed that it was transporting cannabis, said Bruce Roots on the side of this box truck, indicating that vehicle, the law, the CREAM Act, and our regulations don't allow for that. They were told not to use this truck. There was back and forth with our compliance officer whether or not they sold the truck, who owned the truck. But then we have video footage of them moving cannabis products in and out of the location utilizing a truck that was never approved. So therefore, we are recommending an enforcement action.
Thank you, Director Riggs. Any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter as it relates to INV 75/2025?
Madam Chair, I move to impose a sanction on Bruce Roots for $5,000.
Moved by Vice Chair Nash. Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Commissioner Mapp. Any discussion on this motion to impose a sanction of $5,000? I'll note that I support the motion, and what really irritates me about this particular violation is, as you noted, Director Riggs, The compliance officer did what they were supposed to do, did exactly the right thing. They contacted the business and warned them multiple times about this unapproved truck and a truck that has advertising cannabis that does not comply with the law. And then they continue to use the truck anyway. So I'm very irritated with that. And so I support the motion to impose a sanction of $5,000. Is there any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Vice Chair Nash,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wenu.
Yes.
The motion passes.
The next notice of violation before the board is Cream Retail Dispensary INV-81-2025. This is a failure to ensure proper age verification procedures. This was an interesting one, and they didn't have anybody when our compliance officer showed up at the front door checking IDs. That's required by regulation and law. Thankfully, they did have people confirming identification at the point of sale, but that's not enough. We require identification to enter into these dispensaries, and therefore we are recommending an enforcement action.
Thank you, Director Riggs. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter as it relates to INV 81-2025?
Madam Chair, I move to impose a sanction of $500.
I second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this motion? I'll note that I agree with Director Riggs. Thankfully, the mitigating factor here is that there was somebody inside checking ID, verifying age at the point of sale. And so that's the only reason why I'm comfortable with a fine of $500 here. Is there any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion on the motion, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Vice Chair Nash,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wenu.
Yes.
The motion passes.
The next notice of violation before the board is Cureleaf NJ2 Inc. INV-83-2025. The CREAM Act and our regulations require the maintenance of a labor peace agreement with a bona fide labor organization. Cureleaf had a labor peace agreement with itself and a bona fide labor organization, which was executed on April 6th of 2022. It had a 3-year term and needed mutual consent to renew it. So therefore, it expired on April 6th of 2025. At that point, our team of staff reached out on April 22nd. We advised Cureleaf of that expiration and requested written verification of mutual agreement by both Cureleaf and the union that they have extended their LPA or entered into a new LPA. But to date, we do not have any evidence that they have executed a new LPA or extended that LPA. So we are recommending an enforcement action.
Thank you, Director Riggs. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chair, I move to impose a sanction against Cureleaf for $5,000 a day for 122 days, which would total $610,000.
Moved by Vice Chair Nash. Is there a second? I will second the motion. Is there any discussion on this motion? I will note, as Director Riggs alluded to, both in regulation and in statute, there is a requirement for the maintenance of a labor peace agreement with a bona fide labor organization, and that is an ongoing maintenance of a labor peace agreement is an ongoing material condition of the cannabis business's license. And here we have documentation from Cureleaf admitting to the violation that they do not have a valid labor peace agreement in place. I agree with Commissioner Nash's formula to impose a penalty of $5,000 per day that is consistent with the commission's approach in prior instances of the labor peace agreement violation. So I'm in support of this motion. Is there any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion on the motion to impose a penalty of a total of $610,000. Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Vice Chair Nash,
Yes.
Chairwoman Waynu.
My vote is yes, and I will stipulate that my vote is yes because of the calculation that Vice Chair Nash noted between April 7th and August 7th is a total of 122 days, and at a rate of $5,000 per day. And so my vote is yes.
The motion passes.
The next and final NOV before the board today is Boterra Union LLC, INV H6-2025. Failure to maintain proper employment procedures, follow our age verification process, and comply with product sales limits. This is something where they were letting folks work where they were not badged quite yet. We don't allow for that. You can't do that. That was confirmed. And therefore, we are recommending that enforcement action be taken.
Thank you, Director Riggs. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter related to INV 86-2025? Is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chair, I make the motion that we impose a sanction on Boterra Union in the amount of $1,000 for not having employees badged.
$1,000 for not having employees badged. Is there a second on the motion to impose a penalty of $1,000 for not having employees badged?
Madam Chair, I believe there were 3 violations. Am I?
That is correct. There are 3 violations. The motion that Commissioner Mapp has put forward is to impose a penalty of $1,000 for having an unbadged worker, which I believe is just one of the
Correct.
3 violations.
Well, actually, no, that was for the 3 I just read
Yeah,
misread what I was reading. It's all 3 violations.
Okay, so could you repeat your motion then?
Motion to impose a fine on Boterra Union for not following the age verification process.
Correct.
And complying with the product sales limits and follow age verification process and comply with the product sales limits. Is there another one?
In the amount of,
In the amount of $1,000.
for all 3?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So Commissioner Mapp moves to impose a penalty of $1,000 for all 3 of those violations. Is there a second? Is there a second? There is no second, and so the motion fails. Is there another motion on this matter?
Madam Chair, I move to impose sanctions on Boterra Union for $5,000, $1,000 for unbadged employee, $500 for the age check at the door, $3,500 for excess sales over 1 ounce.
All right. So Vice Chair Nash moves to impose a sanction of $5,000. The breakdown, correct me if I have this wrong. The breakdown you said was $1,000 for the unbadged worker,
Yes.
$500 for the age check verification, and $3,500 for the excess sale. Is that
Yes.
correct? All right. So the motion is to impose a sanction of $5,000. Is there a second on this motion? I will second the motion. Is there any discussion on this motion? I believe that these penalties and the breakdown that Vice Chair Nash provided is consistent with the commission's practice for similar violations. And so I support this motion. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing no further discussion, Mr. Said, on the motion to impose a sanction of $5,000, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Vice Chair Nash,
Yes.
Chairwoman Waynu.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item up for consideration is the delegation of authority.
So this is the item that I noted earlier is a last minute addition to our agenda. And here we find ourselves in a situation where we need to delegate authority to our executive director for certain critical operations to continue. And so I am making a motion to delegate authority to the executive director to decide whether to issue a 90-day administrative extension of an annual license or permit expiration date in circumstances when the commission does not have a sufficient number of members to take action on the renewal of said license or permit. And the duration of that delegated authority should continue until rescinded or modified by this board. That is the motion I put forward. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by by Vice Chair Nash. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Vice Chair Nash,
Yes.
Chairwoman Waynu.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item on the agenda, we have the open public comment period.
So as with every board meeting, members of the public can submit public comments during or after this meeting in writing via our website, nj.gov/cannabis/meetings. The deadline for submitting written comments for today's board meeting is 5:00 p.m. tomorrow, Friday, August 8th. Written comments will be shared with the commission members and they will be made public. Speakers will be called on in the order in which they signed up to speak. You'll be limited to 3 minutes. We'll start with the persons who are registered and are in person, and then we'll move to anyone who is joining us by telephone. For those who are joining us in person, when you hear your name called, please come to the forward. The microphone, I believe, is already on. Is that correct? Okay. We're going to confirm. We're going to turn on the microphone for you. Your 3 minutes will be noted to your left. And then we'll turn over to those who are joining us by phone. And Mr. Said will give instructions for those who are joining us by phone on how to raise their hand and unmute themselves. And so with that, Mr. Said, can you please call on our first speakers?
Chairwoman, as a reminder, public speakers during this afternoon's public comment period will be limited to 3 minutes. Please be respectful and concise during your comments. The first person I have on the list is Keith Wood. The next person on the list is Dr. Eliza Brevard Rodriguez. The next person on the list is Thomas Norcia. The next person is Reginald Green. The next person is Smrita Chubi. The next person is Victoria Vasquez. The next person is Samuel Reichbart.
Hello, my name is Samuel Reichbart. I actually came here today to testify on a number of things, but you guys, good. You guys actually seem to have done a lot that we needed you guys to do today. Most notably, I came here to testify about a trans employee at the store that I work at who was sent a letter stating that she couldn't work anymore. That was actually resolved this morning. So thank you guys very much for that. Really appreciate it. It was really hard to have to tell her that she wasn't able to work. So, but I actually do hope you continue to, like, I know you took away the provisional badging today. I hope we do continue to look at that process, just because I worry that possibly people have been discouraged because of the almost year-long waits when they do have to go through that rehabilitation process, or like proof of rehabilitation. I know I have another employee who is currently stuck in that process, so I would want to make sure that we're still doing right by workers, and that we're, keeping to all the commitments that we've made to people to have this be an inclusive industry and work for all of them. I was also very exciting to hear that we are starting to investigate some of the lab issues that we're seeing. I think a lot of people have been shouting from the rooftops about that for a long time. So it's great to hear that we're starting to recognize and work on some of those issues. Yeah, I guess I encourage you guys to just keep up the hard work. Thank you so much for taking some steps and showing us that, you're working for us and working with us.
Next person on the list is Jeffrey Miller. The next person on the list is LaRon Jones.
Thank you, CRC and the commission, for giving me a chance to speak in front of you once more. As you can see, I bought the, oh Jesus, look what you did. But again, again, from the bottom of my heart, my family's heart, thank you. To be here, give my little guy an opportunity, pass a legacy down. To provide for his future siblings and him. So I thank you. And, I definitely just want to really thank you for being patient with us, letting us cure what we need to cure, and achieving what this is all about, taking care of my family. So thank you. Before I end it, I definitely want to say some final words. Lord, put your hands on our application. Be with us, bless us, protect us. I thank the CRC for all that they do for my family and giving us an opportunity that they gave us. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you.
Too early to get the kids engaged in civic activity. So always welcome to bring the little one.
The next person on the list is Andrea Rabel.
Hello, my name is, I know it's going to beep at me in like 5 seconds, so I'm just going to. Hello, I'm still Andrea Rabel, and I'm excited to be here today and to see some of the changes that might be happening in the CRC. Was very excited about to hear Commissioner Mapp discuss some of the potential public education opportunities that are going to be coming forward. And you're right, it is never too early to get the kids involved. So I hope when we're talking about public education, deterrence isn't the only thing we're talking about when we address minors, because minors are welcome as part of our medical program. And a lot of time those patients and their parents are really struggling for resources or community or connection to their doctors. So please bear in mind medical minors when you are going forward with these public education programs. I would also like to thank Executive Director Riggs for coming forward and talking about the THC numbers and the microbial test results that we're seeing in New Jersey. Across the country, those are some of the most questionable trends we're seeing. And as multiple labs start to push back on lab shopping or just unreasonable market variance or labeling inaccuracies, it's important that we're starting to look at the data here and really consider what that means, and consider what that means when you're making decisions on waivers, like extending expiration dates. And I am excited you have a new waiver portal online too, and I'm really excited to see that you guys aren't just line stamping anything, that safety is being brought into the discussions when you are making these decisions and when you're making these enforcement decisions. I would like to see further investigation into the labs and into some of the practices. I know a lot of the enforcements today were for retailers and cultivators. Perhaps, if we're looking into the lab licenses too, we might see some of the answers for some of these trends. And I appreciate that some of the enforcement today scaled with the size of the offenses, because allowing certain problems to go unchecked for a long period of time doesn't mean that they don't escalate. I appreciate your willingness to work with license holders ahead of time. We don't want to be overly punitive in this industry. We want to see it grow. Everyone makes mistakes. There's a learning curve. It takes time to dial in cultivation rooms or validate methods, but understanding that there has to be an end to that grace period where we can really see true accountability to be able to trust in the industry. I just appreciate that you're trying to take steps forward on that. And I look forward to helping any way I can as a patient and encouraging others to come speak up. Hopefully we'll hear more in the future, and hopefully you'll have more opportunities for specific discussions like town halls on science or the medical program again. Thank you. Have a great day.
The next person on the list is Ian Thompson.
Hello, CRC. My name is Ian Thompson. I am a supervisor with Mr. Jones Dispensary. I've come here today to speak on behalf of my employer and the business that he is trying to start. With a proven track record in running successful businesses, he's an individual that will actually know how to get the job done when it comes to getting the store ready and opening. In terms of what we can bring to the town of Little Falls, just from the revenue generated from that 2% sales tax, it can go to funding multiple things throughout the town, like recreational facilities, youth programs that you had already mentioned, clean community programs. So a lot of that money that the store will generate just from being a proposed multi-million-dollar store can go to great benefit for the town and the area around it. Not only that, it will generate a bunch of jobs for a lot of people who are looking to get into the industry as well, and opportunities to grow, like myself, who want to eventually become things like inventory managers, buyers, positions like that. With the backing from Ascend, with times right now where a bunch of smaller stores or larger companies are closing their doors, having the backing from a proven company like Ascend will help keep those stores open, and we'll be able to keep providing quality cannabis to the people around us. Thank you for your time.
Now moving on to the people deciding to call in. Molly Hartman Lustig, if you're in the room. All right, I see you, Molly. Give me 1 second. Molly, you have the room.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, commissioners, staff, and members of the public. My name is Molly Hartman Lustig, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak with you today. I am here to respectfully request that the commission revisit and improve several critical areas in the adult use application process, particularly around disclosure forms, contract approval, and fingerprinting. And then finally, if I have time, a separate issue, distressed licensees. So number one is I would really urge the commission to consider creating distinct disclosure packages for different types of disclosures involved in the application process, including a package for ownership or interest holders, financial sources, management services, contractors, and vendors. Each of these packages would contain role-specific guidance, document checklists, and example forms, similar in tone and format to the notice of application acceptance, which you guys have already put together. And that's been an extremely helpful resource, but we haven't seen that broken down for these different I guess categories. Let's put it. This change would allow applicants to give clear and official instructions to their investors and contractors, reducing some of the errors and delays, caused by confusion over who must disclose when and what's required, which the commission spent time talking about today, and I think there's work to be done on both sides. As one simple example, page 3 of the current entity disclosure form still says insert name of New Jersey ATC. And so this outdated reference can be really easily replaced with AU applicant or AU licensee. Immediately after that, the question, what is the nature of the entity requesting suitability? There's a limited list here, and so there could be a drop-down menu or checkbox for licenses classes 1 through 6. So small fixes like this can have a big impact on compliance and efficiency. And I bet it would also make the staff's job easier too. So the second thing is to reinforce this requirement for unsigned agreements, but acknowledge business realities. So I know that the CRC today and in prior meetings has indicated that all licensees must submit agreements in an unsigned form for the CRC to review before any money changes hands. And this requirement, of course, is essential for oversight and fairness. However, with that being said, I am respectfully requesting that the commission reflect on the business realities that applicants are facing and the legislative intent behind the rules. Access to capital is one of the biggest barriers in the industry, and we are seeing small and large companies failing every single day in our state. Delays of even a few weeks in executing a note, a lease, or a contract can sink a startup, particularly minority or equity applicants.
30 seconds.
So from a legislative perspective, restrictions on usurious interest rates and shelf space limits, of course, are put in place to protect the little guys. But what I'm asking for is some consideration for earlier submission, faster review agreements, especially simple promissory notes where there's no ownership or equity considerations at play. Consider some provisional approvals for standard form agreements if applicants choose to use them. And also recognize the urgent pace of real world business. With my time limited, let people get fingerprinted as soon as humanly possible. Please don't wait until an application is deemed, quote, first review, because by that time we are talking months and months of delay, especially leading into the school months where lots of volunteers have to get fingerprinted to help our kids out and get on buses and teams and all that jazz. And I'll save my last comment for the next meeting. Thank you so much. And thank you again for your thoughtful leadership.
I'm going to go through the list one more time for the people that didn't get a chance to speak on the list. Keith Wood, Dr. Eliza Brevard Rodriguez, Thomas Norcia, Reginald Green, Smrita Chobi, Victoria Vasquez, Jeffrey Miller. That's Chairwoman, this will conclude the registered speakers we have for today's public meeting.
Thank you. And thank you to everybody who shared their suggestions, their experiences, and their concerns with the commission today. This concludes the business that we have before us today. And so with that, I move that we adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Mapp. Is there any discussion on this motion to adjourn? Hearing none. All those in favor of adjourning say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes. So the time is now 3:20 and we are adjourned. Thank you everyone for coming out today, and we will see you at the next meeting. Thank you.